Hey, hi Kendra.
Hi, how are you?
Friends, welcome Kendra. She's a special educator. She has been helping kids with autism and on special needs for the past 4 years. Can you tell us
It's
something about yourself?
okay, so just a little bit about myself. I went to, I guess I could start with my college career. I went to SUNY Oswego I graduated with my bachelor's in childhood education in 2005. After that time, I ended up working with an agency called United Cerebral Palsy, where I worked from being a habilitation specialist for adults with developmental disabilities as well as physical disabilities. I worked my way from that position to a program director. After that time, I decided it's time to go back into education. So I started teaching at charter schools and eventually ended up at the school I'm at now, which is PS32 in Brooklyn. And I work with students. I have worked with students in education. I've been teaching for 9 years, but like you said, started 4 years ago working with students diagnosed with autism. And I have my master's in special education.
That's great. So can you tell us why did you transformed or change your stream? So you were helping people, and then you've moved to special education. So can you tell us more about that? I mean, what made you change your stream altogether? What made you move from rehabilitation to helping kids with special needs? So if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Of course. So I thought that at the time when I first finished school, it was all about teaching. I just wanted to help people in general. So when I got my first job at United Cerebral Palsy, I thought that that was another focus, like that was another way to help people in general, no matter who they are or what they do. So it was with adults that I started working with, and I noticed that adults is like they're already set in their ways. It's very much like you have to just, help them along the way because they're already there. They already think, certain ways or feel certain things. So it was very challenging because helping adults with disabilities and developmental and physical disabilities is very different from helping children. There are different challenges. So I thought, since I found that passion for just helping students, helping people with disabilities, I felt like I should go back to education and actually help children. So then I thought about just going right back into education because I took a little break for about 4 years. So I was like, it's time to go back to teaching kids.
Teaching kids is fun. I mean,
Yes.
especially teaching the special need kids is a lot
Yes.
of fun. Okay,
Yes.
so when I interact with special educators or anybody, what I always hear this. I mean, all these kids have got a different way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
So they have this out of the box thinking, wherein every movement is it's not just any other movement, right?
Yes.
You kind of enjoy small little things, a different perspective to life. So it's really very amazing from that perspective. So I'm sure you would have had a lot of such examples, a lot of
I
such
do.
stories. So can you share some of them with us?
Of course. So one story that always comes to mind, my first story that comes to mind was like the most challenging uh, moment I had in this field. I had a student named Antoine who I love, love, love so dearly. I still keep in touch with Antoine, and I've taught him, it's been about 3 years, 2 years since I've taught him in second grade, and I still keep in touch with him, and he lives in Georgia. So when Antoine came to me, he was very, very physical when it came to behavior. He definitely was very smart, very brilliant little kid. I love that about him, very clever. It's just the physical behaviors were very challenging in the classroom. So that's something that we had to work on. So giving him a routine, giving him those things were tools that he can use to calm himself, was helpful. But there was one thing that I know that stuck with him for years. He thought he was Spider-Man, so he would climb up on everything. He would shoot webs at me. I was the villain. He would shoot webs at me to tackle me, or shoot webs at everyone in the classroom. So I noticed that his web shooter actually resembled the I love you sign in sign language. So he would shoot webs at me, and I would say, oh, how about you turn that this way and show me that you care, show me that you love me. And he would say, what? Okay. And he just started to do that and change it to the I love you sign. So even when he went on to third grade, he actually would see me in the hallway. We would walk by each other, and I would hold it up, and he would hold it up right to me. It would connect, we would connect, and he would keep it moving. So that was our connection to say, you know, remember, you love people, you don't shoot people, you don't shoot webs of people. You actually have to show you care and you love. So I noticed with that, it made an impact on him. Even something so small as that helps him to get through his day, because he turned those physical behaviors later on into, you know what, she really does care about me. She really does love me. She's showing me different ways that I can deal with my aggression and my anxiety. So I think that was our connection, and he moved forward through that, and he really pushed through. So like I said, to this day, I speak to Antoine on the phone, on FaceTime, just to see how he's doing. He just had a birthday last month. So
And
yeah.
he still has got this sign. So whenever you
Yes,
interact,
he
he
still
still
holds
shows
up
you
the
that sign.
sign. Yes, he does. Mhm.
That's a great gesture indeed. An amazing story of positive motivation,
Yeah.
behavioral change.
Mhm.
Can you give us some more such stories? I mean, I'm sure I can see the
Yes.
comments. People are just loving that story. So if
Yes.
you could just share a few more
So
with us, that'll be
I
great.
have I have this thing with all of my students this past year where we would greet each other at the door with hugs, a handshake, hug, or a high five to start the day off. And every day there was one student that never wanted to give me a high five, never wanted to give me a hug. His name is Lucas. I love him. And he was like very like, I don't want to touch you. We are cool, but I don't want to touch you. So I noticed he just was very like to himself, another student diagnosed with autism, and just did not feel like I was okay, like I was gonna help. Like I just think that after a while, after getting to know him and showing him different ways, we started doing meditation together, yoga, things like that. We had conversations where he would talk about Star Wars and his interests. So I noticed that once you take the time to actually listen to your kids and listen to what they love and what their interests are, then you can go so many places and make so much progress with them because you're showing that you care. So we would have moments where he would just tell me for 30 minutes about Star Wars or about something that he loved. After a while, I noticed we must have made some kind of connection, my co-teacher and I, because he would just come to us for everything, talk to us about everything, and it showed that he was okay with us being in his space. He was okay with us teaching him. Just last week, his mom sent a very heartfelt, well, last month, his mom sent a very heartfelt email saying that she enjoyed the fact that we were his teachers. He actually sent us a picture. He wanted us to see that he just lost a tooth. So it was like he became we became his friend. We became his friend and his teachers at the same time. And he realized that, okay, they're cool. And that I feel like building relationships are way more important to start that before you start teaching. That's important for you to have that connection with your kids, and then you can start teaching them because they could trust you at that point. You're building a trust.
Trust indeed is the most critical thing.
Yeah.
In order to start any kind of relationship, be it a teacher, student, or any relationship for that matter, trust is
Mhm.
the founding stone, right? If it's there, then you can literally build castle,
Yeah,
right? Otherwise,
absolutely.
it's all gonna just die down. I mean, it's not gonna
Yeah,
stay there for long, right?
yeah.
Kendra, so what's the most motivating part of being a special educator?
The most motivating part is knowing that your kids, your scholars are actually getting something from you. Like, I noticed that some things that my children do or my scholars do, they remember something I told them, maybe a phrase or a hand movement. Like, I always tell them, hands on your head, hands on your shoulders, head, shoulders, hug yourself. Hug yourself means love yourself first. And then we can start. Then we can start our lesson, we can start our day. So for them to repeat those things back to me, it makes me feel like I'm doing something right, like I'm living through my purpose. So if I notice that they're remembering something and they are thinking about me years to come, like from years from now, they call me or they email me, something stuck. That's the most motivating part, is that I'll get notes, I'll get emails, I'll get pictures of them getting so big. I just feel like I know I'm doing something right, like, because they remember me. They remember me, or they remember something I did or something I told them. So that's what keeps me moving. That's what keeps me progressing, is knowing that something that I did for my students and my scholars helped them to move forward. And it helped them and they remember.
Indeed. So, see, everyone is doing a 9 to 5 job, right? But adding value to someone's life, creating positive impact in someone's life is something that defines purpose, right?
Yeah.
And having a purpose in life essentially is the biggest thing. My friends keep asking me, so whenever I'm upset, I say, I need purpose of life. And they're like, okay, where are you gonna get that? So purpose of life is essentially something very important. And with special educators, parents of special need kids, they have this thing figured out. They understand
Yeah.
what is purpose of life for them. Like for you, purpose of life is helping kids with special
Yeah.
needs. For
Yes.
parent, purpose of life would be to help their kids do better, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the motivating factor that keeps them going,
Right.
because this is a long journey, right? This is not something
Mm-hmm.
which is gonna just end like just like that in a jiffy kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. It's not gonna happen that way, right? It's just a long
Yeah.
journey. So you need to have that motivation to keep you going,
Yes.
to ensure that you wake up every single day with that energy that okay, I
Yeah.
have to do something which is positive. I have to bring positivity to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, a lot of kids who are dependent on me. So
Yes.
indeed, whatever you are saying does hit home.
Okay. Thank you.
So what is a typical day in your life really looks like?
Oh, a typical day. Before this whole thing that we're going through, I could say a typical day was getting up, going, taking my daughter to school because she goes to a different school, going to my school, welcoming my students with like a handshake, a high five, or a hug. Right after getting into the classroom, we immediately would do yoga or meditation to get their minds ready to refocus for the day. Our lessons were always interactive, something where we always either dance around the classroom, sit on the carpet, look at the smart board, dance some more, something that keeps them moving and having fun, like having fun and learning at the same time. My students also participated in other classes, of course, but at those times we would have to plan ahead and plan for the next step, the next thing, the next big thing we have to do. I know we used to turn our classroom into a museum when we would study different heritages, like different cultures. We would turn our classroom into a museum. So when they would come back from a specials class, the classroom was a museum or it was something different. And they would be like, wait, just a few minutes ago, our desks were different. We didn't see all of this. What's happening? So we always surprise our kids every single day, like with something different to make it more fun and more interesting. At the end of the day, I would just dismiss my kids, say see you later, keep it moving, Then I started after school program after that. Before all of this, we had after school, and I would teach step dance, and then that's my day. Go home. It was a long day, but it was
That's
worth it.
exciting. I would have
Yeah.
wanted to be a part of that class wherein you disappear. I
Yes,
mean, and once you're back, it's a transformed
it's a
into a
totally
museum or
different.
something completely
Yes.
different. So I would definitely be want to be a part of that class.
Yeah, it's always we changed it up every day. We had to. We had to keep it interesting. Had to keep it fun. So the kids will always want to be in school. Always want to come back the next day.
Indeed, that's the key. That's the key
Yes.
to really ensure that the kids feel like going back to you. The kids
Yeah.
feel like interacting with you, coming to the classes, and it's not just a routine, a mundane kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So
That
certainly,
surprise
certainly.
element, it works. The surprise element works.
It
Switch
works,
it
it
up.
works, it works for everyone, right?
Yes.
You could
Yes.
give me something and I would love that too.
Yes.
Surprise element works. It works for sure. So
Mhm.
Kendra, what are some of the challenges that you typically face with kids or maybe with their parents or with anyone for that matter?
Well, I could definitely speak to the challenges with parents. There's always challenges with kids, but I noticed that the challenges with parents, at first they would see me and think that I didn't have a child of my own. And I had to let them know that I do have a child of my own. She may be a neurotypical child. However, I know that she needs certain things because she's different, regardless. So I would have to let my parents know that I understand where they're coming from. And I too have a child that I know needs certain things to push forward, like any child does. So my thing would always be to show that first or share that with them first so they would know I know where they're coming from. Another challenge I would have with parents is that they would feel like just because their child is diagnosed with some disability or something that they don't want to admit it or they don't want to admit that their child may need some extra support. The challenge with that is if you don't get that extra support right away or as soon as possible, then you don't understand you could have been making so much more progress had you identify what you need right away. So a lot of parents are not in denial, but they are looking at it like, I don't want my child to be labeled. But what's wrong with that? Everyone is different. Everyone needs certain things that, if once you have that and once you understand that they are different individuals, then you know what to give them. You know what support you can put in place. So once you know that right away, you can start moving forward and don't ever feel like your child is not going to be able to learn or is incapable of progressing. That's not true at all. Every child can learn. Every child can progress. They just need to be given those tools that they are going to need to make that progression. So it's about making sure that you understand your child and you're listening to them and you see that, yes, my child needs this, I'm going to go out and get it. Don't be in denial saying, okay, maybe they're okay. No, or maybe they need this. They are okay, but they need what special things that they need that will help them to make progress. So it's our job as parents to go out and find those things that will help them, or programs or anything that will help them to make progression. So those are some challenges, just understanding that every child needs something and they will always be able to learn, no matter what. Every child can learn.
Indeed, acceptance is the key.
Yes,
If you live in a state of denial,
yes,
then essentially you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your kid, you're hurting everyone around because the
mm-hmm.
kid would need certain amount of support, right?
Yes,
And if you start living in denial, then
yes,
you would deprive your kid accidentally. You would deprive your kid of the support that the kid really needs and something that would probably help that kid, right? So
yes,
acceptance essentially is the key. I mean, that's the
yes,
first step.
yes,
If you keep thinking that okay, denial would help, It
Yeah.
certainly would not. It would
It will.
just make things worse. And of course, early intervention is the key. If you were to
Hmm.
waste a lot of time in denial, the more time you waste, the more regression or
Yeah.
not recovery, or you be taking your kid away from helping, right? So
Yes.
I certainly it does
Absolutely.
make a lot of sense.
Hmm. Thank you.
So, can we, since you have been helping kids for the past 4 years, I'm sure you would have had tons of motivational stories, right? That you have seen in your professional career, right? Can you just
Hmm.
share a few of them with us?
Okay, so one other story I have is one of my students, Lavani. She's very well, my students this past year. I've known her since she was in kindergarten, but she came to us this past year, second grade. She was very nonverbal, very much to herself, and another just would act out in physical ways. I would always tell her she was beautiful all the time because I noticed that she would be a little self-conscious, and maybe that was why she wouldn't talk as much, or she felt like she wasn't able to speak as well. So we noticed that even her speech therapist would say, you know what, I think if we give her more of that positive reinforcement as telling her she's beautiful or telling her she's pretty, things like that, she will feel more confident. So the thing that I love the most about teaching is that I'm able to help my children see themselves in such a way that they will start to build that confidence within themselves. So if they are confident in what they do and what they're doing, then they will keep going. They will keep like stay motivated. So I always felt like we should, as teachers and as adults, we have the power to change a lot. And we don't understand that our kids will love us to death, but we have to put in that confidence within themselves so they can love themselves first. So I always told her she was beautiful. I always tell her, don't, even her glasses, I would put my glasses on, even though I don't wear glasses. I would put fake glasses on just so she would feel comfortable wearing her glasses. Just things like that. And we would take selfies and stuff like that, just so she could feel confident within herself. Because I feel like that is where it needs to start, that self-love. And then you can do more things, and then you can feel powerful. If you are confident and you love yourself, it starts there. So those are things that I always push with my kids, is just love yourself no matter what. Because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are handsome, and you have to push from there.
And you're special.
Yes, and you are special. Everybody is. Everybody
Everybody
is.
is.
Yes,
Everybody is. Everybody is
yes,
special in their own ways, right?
yes.
It's just a
Absolutely.
label that people start putting on kids and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
you're
yeah,
right.
everybody is special. So Kendra, just one thing. So I'm sure there would have been instances in your life wherein you would have felt demotivated. You would have felt, okay, things are not working the way I want them to, and you
Hmm.
would have felt like running away. But
Hmm.
what is that one motivation that keeps bringing you back? Keep giving you the energy needed to get up
Hmm.
every single day and do your best.
My personal one motivation would have to be my daughter. Like I want her to see her mom in a light of, wow, my mom does this, she does that. And I feel like if she looks up to me, then I'm doing something correct. I'm doing something right. So what pushes me and wakes me up in the morning is my child, my daughter. So I know for a fact that she's watching my every move and she's knowing what I'm doing. She knows that I'm a teacher, and now she wants to be a teacher. And I let her come into my classroom so she can see the actual work that I do, because I feel it's important for her to know what my job is and how important my job is and why I do what I do. So my child is my number one motivation, along with the fact that I feel proud knowing that my kids, my scholars, are learning something from me, that they're taking something away from me. And years down the line, they contact me and say, you know what, Miss Jordan, I always remembered that conversation you had with me. And when I get those emails and those phone calls, I feel like I'm doing something right. But my main number one focus, motivation, all the time that gets me up in the morning is my daughter. To making sure I know that she is seeing her mom in such a light, that her mom is actually doing great things, that I want her to see that. So she pushes me to keep it moving. Like I could sit there and say, oh, I don't want to go to work today, or I don't want to do this today. But I know that she's watching me. My daughter is watching me. So I have to make sure I'm doing something that makes her feel proud of me.
That's a great motivation to have. I mean,
Yeah.
it was heartwarming to really hear
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
So Kendra, tell me some weird thing that has ever happened to you in your professional career. Of course, in the hilarious way. We just wanna end this conversation on a lighter note, wherein we part ways while laughing. That's what
Okay.
I try to do
That's fine.
with every life that I have.
So, and the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, I don't know. It's been a lot of weird things happened to me, but it's some funny moments that I've had in as teaching, and I noticed a lot of them would be when I would go. Okay, a funny moment, I guess. When I would go past my music teacher in my school, we have music. And every time the kids would come from music, they would be so happy, they would be laughing. But we had to show we had a silly side too. So we would storm into the classroom and start dancing and singing and things like that, just to help our kids to feel comfortable with us, because we get silly as well. We have to be silly because we have to show them that we're all human, we're all silly, we all have fun. So we would laugh, we would joke, we would sing, we would dance, just to show our kids that we care about them and we want them to be comfortable with us and we want to laugh together. So those are some weird little funny things that we used to do all the time in our classroom.
Great, Kendra. Great to hear that. Before we end this live, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about your center? What facilities do you have? How do you help kids? So that if someone would want to know a little bit more, they can connect with you directly.
Okay, so I have a tutoring service called My Seats, MYS.E.A.T. On Instagram is a way to contact me. Of course, that handle will be given later. So my tutoring service is for neurotypical and neurodiverse scholars. I also have a channel called Read and Sign with Me, which is a read aloud and sign language together with my partner. We read and sign books just to make things fun and interesting. So you could check us out if you want to. Thank you.
Kendra, so we would also request you to share videos of some of the sessions that you have been doing, how that classroom gets converted into a museum, and
Yes.
certainly that's gonna be very exciting for everyone to see. And we would
Hmm.
love to put that on our Insta, on our other
Okay.
social media handles. And as I tell everyone, this is just the beginning. We would
Yes.
connect again, and this is
Yes.
gonna be an ongoing session for
Thank
all of
you.
us, and we would consider this to be as just the initiation, and
Okay.
we would keep connecting over a longer period of time. Since this journey
Okay.
is long, we're gonna be
Yes.
together.
Yes. We have to do it together. We work together to make it happen. You're right.
Thanks, Kendra. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Hope you have enjoyed.
All right. You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.